Hello, everyone. Well, this is all very exciting for me. It's not often I get to go out and be in the presence of adults, except for in the context of play groups and kids' parties. So this is a very welcome break from singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm. Thank you, Julian, for inviting me to take part in GibTalks. I think it's a fantastic concept, and I've been here for nearly all the talks today, and they've been really thought-provoking and enjoyable. So I will do my best to follow it up as best I can, but I can't promise anything. It's my first shot, so please be gentle with me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a blogger and editor. I launched a website 6 months ago called Mum on the Rock, and I'm here today to tell you a bit about my journey, how I went from reading other people's websites to creating my own, well, online community, I guess you'd call it. I've been living in Gibraltar now for 6 years. I moved here with my Gibraltarian boyfriend, who's now my husband, who came to work for the family business. I have to confess, I didn't know very much about Gibraltar when I first got here. I'd always heard it being bracketed with the likes of Monaco, so I imagined it'd be quite glamorous. I arrived on a heavy Levante day in August, and our first trip was to Morrison's. So not quite what I was expecting. However, it didn't take long for Gibraltar to grow on me with all of its charm. It's a really tight-knit community, so of course it took a while for me to integrate. But over time and with shared experiences, I gradually made a close network of friends. Soon after I arrived, I did feel that Gibraltar could really do with a website to help new people like myself integrate into life on the rock. But within the next few months, new websites started to pop up, so I put that thought to the back of my mind, and as it's not really an area I was kind of specialized in, I didn't really think of it anymore, and by then I had a wedding to plan. So Alex and I got married, and before I knew it, we were expecting our first child. I embraced everything Gibraltar had to offer an expecting mum. I did prenatal aerobics, aqua aerobics, and yoga, and hypnobirthing, and prenatal massage. It's safe to say I was embracing my new role with great gusto. It was also around this time that I discovered the value of an online community. I regularly wrote in an online mums forum, an international one, about my concerns and excitement regarding my impending motherhood. And I also started writing a journal that developed quite a following. Little did I know that my pregnancy story was going to take such a turn that it would end up becoming compulsive reading to strangers on the other side of the Atlantic. After a rather textbook pregnancy where I followed all advice to the nth degree, 11 weeks early, my waters broke. I was transferred to Cadiz, which is intimidating under any circumstances, but as someone who spoke very limited Spanish, it was even more so. I was given drugs to delay the labor, which they said would last for about 48 hours, but after that, chances are I would go into labor again very soon, and then there'd be nothing they could do about it. However, those 2 days passed, and then another week passed, and then 2 weeks passed, and before I knew it, I'd reached 35 weeks. I spent 6 weeks on hospitalized bed rest in Cadiz, only able to get up to use the bathroom. Not much fun. But it was during my time in Cadiz that I realized how much Gibraltar had become home to me. Every weekend, friends and family would do the 2-hour journey to come over and cheer me up a bit. And even though, obviously, we didn't have everything quite prepared for our new arrival, people made sure that there was everything that we could possibly need. It was also during this time that I discovered Baby Steps. I went online on Facebook and discovered them there and made contact with Louise McLaren, who was an amazing support to me, both emotionally and practically. And it was an example to me already of how the internet and how the community in Gibraltar could be such a blessing to someone in my situation. And the people who volunteer to do stuff like that are, their value is, without measure. Anyway, ironically, when it came to inducing me at 35 weeks, my baby didn't want to budge. After 3 days of being induced, I finally had to have an emergency C-section. Thankfully, there was nothing seriously wrong with her. She did have some breathing issues, which meant that she had to spend a couple of days in NICU, which is intensive care, and then another 4 days in the intermediario. I can't speak Spanish very well, but the special care baby unit. The 6 weeks I spent on hospitalized bed rest were long, but the 6 days I spent waiting to hold my daughter and take her home were probably the longest days of my life. However, I know how lucky we were to be able to take home a healthy child, and that's the thought that I hold with me all the time. I returned to Gibraltar with my child, exhausted, recovering from a C-section, and in need of tiny baby clothes and tiny nappies. I bought stuff online simply because it was the easier thing to do at the time. I didn't really have time to be asking around, so I just did what was easiest. When you're a first-time, overwhelmed, sleep-deprived parent, you just need things to be straightforward. Now you can find anything you need pretty much online, but I needed local knowledge for mums, really. Anyway, I didn't really have time to start working on that myself, so I just resurrected an old blog of mine. Oh, speaking of which, I've completely forgotten about the slides, so that was me pregnant. Apologies for that. This was me in hospital bed rest and caddies. And this was my little girl when she came along, so she was pretty tiny. And that was us finally getting to go home. So yeah, this is the stage we've got to in the story. Anyway, I resurrected an old blog of mine called Polly Mixtures, and I decided I'd start writing as a hobby about my experience as a mother in Gibraltar, about bringing her up, and just about our little adventures that we were having. It was during this time that I kind of discovered the phenomenon that is parent blogging. It's massive in the UK and the US, and there are just so many other parents out there using the internet to keep sane and to keep informed. And gradually over time, my blog started to develop quite a following, but I found myself increasingly bracketed as an expat because I was writing about my life in Gibraltar. And while I know I am technically an expat, I don't feel like an expat. I was so integrated into the community, I kind of didn't really want to have that title anymore. And so I thought it was about time that I created a website for the locals so that we could all connect with one another in the same way that I would like to connect with other mums. It's easy to overlook how isolated new mums can feel. I wanted the website to be an insightful escape from the domestic drudgery and nappy changes that all mums can feel quite overwhelmed with. It was time to bring some parent blogging to Gibraltar. I was asked why I wanted to do it online rather than in print. Well, if you want to do a printed magazine, you need money, you need people, and you need a hell of a lot more coordination than I possibly could find with a toddler in tow. So I also wanted something accessible to parents whenever they needed it. And with the internet these days, with everyone nearly always having an access, whether it's via their smartphone or at home, it's something that parents could juggle around their busy lives. It would also allow the site to be dynamic, reacting to stories and trends while they were happening. And most importantly, it could be interactive, so I could hear from the parents of Gib what it is that they wanted or needed to hear about or talk about. So it was one morning, bleary-eyed, while nursing my little girl, that I came up with the concept of Mum on the Rock, and I bought the domain name straight away. I wanted to build a website that covered the questions that not just new parents like myself were asking, but parents of teens and grandparents, because they play such a proactive role in bringing up children here in Gib. Beyond that, I also wanted to feature local writers, and I wanted a What's On section with a family focus. So, now having the idea is just the first step. Making it happen with a new baby in tow is quite another. I was quite nervous about doing something new and scared of failure, like anyone starting a new venture would be. And I think new mums in particular are quite nervous about putting themselves out there after they've had a bit of time away from work. However, my experience in caddies shaped me in the fact that I realized what real fear is. And the real fear is looking at your child in an incubator and being scared for their health and their life. This was a new challenge that I was certainly ready for. However, I still needed to know that there'd be people who'd be happy to write for me. So I started to ask around, and before I knew it, I started getting private messages in my inbox from people I hadn't even met saying that they'd heard of the project and they were interested in getting involved. I wanted to cover a vast array of subjects, from health and nutrition to crafts and current affairs to travel, leisure, product testing. I wanted there to be something of interest for everyone on the Rock. It was important to me that the site reflected Gibraltar, so I wanted all the writers to be locally based. A GP on maternity leave messaged me saying that she felt like her brain was kind of rotting a bit and wanted to exercise it and write about health. An ex-preschool teacher messaged me saying she wanted to write about crafts. I messaged a few local bloggers and to see if they'd be happy to write some guest posts, and they were too. And gradually a network started to emerge. I was really excited when journalist Helen Wade got in touch saying that she was interested in contributing as well. I was actually overwhelmed by just how excited people were by my idea. Different friends from around the community helped to pitch in so many different ways, from the design of the website to offering giveaways to offering me photographs and simply just providing me with feedback in terms of how to structure the site. To date, 47 different people have written articles for the website, and bearing in mind it's all done voluntarily, that's just incredible, and I'm always overwhelmed when I think about the support the site's getting and still is. A few days before the launch, we found out we were expecting baby number 2. It was a bit too late at this stage to delay anything with all the effort and time that had been invested. Now I'd simply just be twice as qualified as a mum on the Rock. The readership started off as predominantly female, but our male readership is gradually growing, which is great. I love dad bloggers, and I really hope we'll be getting some more daddy contributions as time goes on. It feels great to give some fantastic voices on the Rock a platform to be heard, but I'm always on the lookout for more voices. We love a bit of debate and discussion over at Mum on the Rock, so if you're interested in having your say, please do get in touch. The funny thing is, while I made the site for the community of Gibraltar, what's amazed me is that I couldn't have done it without the support I have from the community of Gibraltar. The contributions are done by people on a regular basis, and everyone who's involved is as enthusiastic about the project as I am. I imagined that interest in the site would grow gradually, but actually it's snowballed. We're now a team of 3. Laura Bethin, who are contributors and mums themselves, got involved recently and agreed to help me edit and develop the website so that we can give it a bit more of a structure that people can rely upon. There just weren't enough hours in the day or night or enough nap times to be able to get everything done. It's great to bounce ideas off one another, and we have lots of plans in the pipeline for what we'd like to do. We'll be doing regular travel pieces for people going to and from the Rock. We want to let everyone know in the online community, even beyond these shores, what a fantastic location Gibraltar is for family holidays. We've also just started a Mystery Diner series. We got in touch with the readers and asked people to tell us what it is that, where they go out to eat with their family and why. And we compiled a list, and we've done our own little kind of form that we'll be filling in and assessing all the restaurants so that there can be a chart that people can use later on to help themselves with. We're also adding a forum so we can encourage more voices and more insights from other parents. We're all very passionate about reading, so we're really looking forward to doing regular children books reviews and a section on healthy family recipe eating. Section on healthy family recipes. We want to launch a Mum on the Rock YouTube channel once I've got a bit better at public speaking, and possibly an app. But we're taking things one step at a time, much like my baby daughter did not that long ago. On the technical side of things, now that we've road tested the site a bit, we'll be ironing some things out that we're not totally happy with. I've got the small matter of another baby due in May, so that will be happening before I tackle much else. But to all you mums and dads out there, or aunties, or cousins, or uncles or sisters, if you'd like to get in touch, do please. It's your site, make the most of it. You'll be welcome with open arms. Thank you for listening to me today.